Right, today we're going to be ranking the biggest transfer rumours from the Premier League this week, and when we're done, we're going to be putting each player into a tier list. We've got SOTS for signing of the summer, good signing, solid deal, risky business, and flop. I'm going to be starting off with Bournemouth and their potential signing, which is Dean Huijsen, the 19-year-old Spanish left-back from Juventus, is rumoured to be on his way to Bournemouth for a fee reported to be around 18 million euros, which might be something about 15 million pounds. And I think if Bournemouth were to get this signing done, I think this would be a fantastic bit of business. There are a lot of top clubs linked with him at the moment, and I think he could definitely do better than Bournemouth. And I think Bournemouth getting him could be an absolute coup for them. I'm not sure exactly where he would fit in the starting 11. I'm not sure he gets in there straight away. I think probably Senesi and Zabani probably start the season. But I think Huijsen probably ends up becoming third choice centre-back. I think when you think about the other options, Chris Mepham, you got James Hill. Obviously, you've had Lloyd Kelly move to Newcastle. He predominantly played left-back, but he could also play centre-back. And so I think Huijsen probably goes as third choice. And it's probably going to be Senesi if he were to break into the side, who's going to make way for him in that team. But I think this is a player who's got a load of potential, who could really suit the Premier League quite well, and under Iraola, a Spanish manager from the Basque Country, I think you could really get the best out of him as well. So for me, I don't think it's signing of the season contender. It's got to be at least solid deal. I'm probably going to go in between there and go, I think it's a good signing for Bournemouth if it were to happen. And next up, we're going to go to Fulham. I'm going to talk about their potential signing, Ryan Sessegnon. This one came out very recently, and I think if this were to get over the line, I think this would be a very good signing. It makes absolute sense for Sessegnon himself. Obviously, he left Fulham when he was a youngster to go join Spurs to, really become that, that superstar at Spurs. And I think there were a lot of likes with him and Gareth Bale at the time, starting off a left back, maybe moving further up the pitch. It hasn't quite worked for him. Injuries have played a massive part of that in as well. But I think for Fulham, where he would fit in, I think, yes, he could play left back, but obviously you got Anthony Robinson. However, Robinson played a lot of games last season. I think he played 37 matches in the Premier League. I think majority of those were starts, maybe 35 or 36. Not only that, he's had a very busy summer as well, being away with the US men's national team at the Copa America. So at times, Robinson might need a bit of a break, and bringing in the likes of Sessegnon and left back just to cover for him, I think is a fantastic option. But also further forward, Fulham have also lost Bobby Decordova-Reid, so I think he's a player who used to play a lot of left wing, and right wing, probably everywhere on the pitch. So I think Sessegnon can also do that further up as well. And I think just going back to familiar grounds, I think it's a good signing for Sessegnon, and I think it's a good move for Fulham. So all in all, I think there's got to be a solid deal. And then next we're going to talk about Aston Villa, and this signing could either be signing of the season or it's going to be a massive flop. I don't think there's actually anywhere in between, and it is João Felix of Atletico Madrid who's rumoured to be joining the Villains. And this one, I can understand why Aston Villa want him, because on his day, he is an absolutely fantastic player, arguably one of the world's best. However, it has gotten to the point now where Felix is 24 years old. We haven't seen the best of him for a long time, maybe since his days at Benfica, where we really saw the best of him. The last 3 seasons, he's played less than 1,500 minutes in the league season. And obviously, yes, he is accustomed to the Premier League and the way they play and the physicality because of his loan spell at Chelsea. But I think if Atletico Madrid want to sell you, Chelsea don't want to buy you, I do think that it is a bit of a worry. And when you think about injuries as well, he's not the main starter for Portugal anymore. That is obviously Rafael Leao. I do think this is a bit of a risk, especially when his best position is probably the number 10 position. He'll be playing a lot out wide and in the false 9. I don't think that really suits him. But for Aston Villa, they have a lot of players who could probably play the number 10 position. You've got Emi Buendia's come back from injury. I'm sure John McGinn can do it. Yuri Tillemans, Ramsey as well. So, do Aston Villa need him? I don't think so, but the only saving grace is, I think, if Unai Emery wants him, I don't know who Unai is, but if Unai Emery wants him, then I think you go out there and you get him for your manager. If it's a loan with an option to buy, I think that'd be a better deal for Aston Villa to see how it is. If it's a loan with an obligation or a straight transfer fee, I'm not quite sure. I think that is going to be quite risky. Is he going to flop? No, I think he'll do okay if it were to happen, but I'm going to have to put him in risky business because I can't see it paying off for Villa because of the amount of money they're going to have to pay in terms of a fee and wages. And from one player potentially joining Aston Villa to a player who looks like he's set to be leaving them is John Duran, the 20-year-old Colombian striker, is reportedly on his way to West Ham United. And I think this is a lot of money if it turns out to be true. 32 million plus a youth team player from West Ham going to Aston Villa. I think it's a lot of money for a player who only got 5 goals in all competitions last season. However, you can see the raw attributes with John Duran. You can see that he's got that physicality for the Premier League. He's got his eye for goal, and he's got an absolute thunderbolt of a strike with him on his left foot. And I think if West Ham were to sign him, I don't think he's going to be a starter straight away. I think you've still got Mikel Antonio as the main striker, but he is, getting on a little bit. He's 34 years old. He can't keep doing it for West Ham much longer. You think about the other options like Danny Ings. He looks like he's out the door. He hasn't really been good enough for a while now. You got Mubamba as well, the young striker. He isn't quite there yet. He still needs a few more years to develop. So I can definitely see one where it's a passing of the torch between Antonio and Duran. But I think the fee is quite a lot of money. If West Ham were to get it done, I think this is, very much a solid deal. I'm going to stick with the Hammers because they have a couple of reported links in this video, and the next one is Nusser Masraoui, the Moroccan international who plays at right back for Bayern Munich at the moment, looks to be set to be leaving the door, as it looks like Joshua Kimmich and the Vincent Company is going to be moving back from midfield into the right back position, and obviously with Sacha Boey being the backup right back, it seems like there's no space for Masraoui in that team. And he's also been linked with likes of Man United as well, but it seems like West Ham are in pole position. And I think if they were to get this deal over the line, it would be a very good signing for West Ham. It definitely improves their right back options from when they had Ben Johnson and Sofian Koufal. I think there's just another example of Lopetegui having that draw and pulling more players towards West London. I do think that his injury issues are a bit of a concern, and I'm not sure he's ready and fit, actually, more than anything else, to be the starting right back week in, week out. But if he were to get over his injury issues, this could be, in my opinion, a really good signing, and I'm going to put him in good signing. And speaking of Manchester United, they've actually been linked with 2 players in the same position in the last week, and these are the defensive midfielder positions, Manuel Ugarte and also Sofian Amrabat, who obviously wasn't known at them last season. And I'll start with Manuel Ugarte because he's the newer name, the fresher name, and I think that his time at PSG hasn't quite worked out the way he would have liked it to have gone. Obviously, leaving from Sporting, going to PSG, you would have thought, okay, that's his big move. He's really going to stamp his authority in that PSG side, in that midfield, and it hasn't quite worked for them. And I'm a little bit surprised that PSG are willing to let him go already, but obviously they might be signing João Neves, which would be an even better deal for them. So I can understand that, with financial issues, 1 in, 1 out, it can make complete sense. And if Man United were to get Manuel Ugarte, I think this is a fantastic signing. I think Casemiro's legs are getting on a little bit, and if they were to bring in someone who's like Ugarte, who's only 22 years of age, Uruguayan international, got pedigree and experience in Europe, I think you could drop him into that Man United midfield and it could be a fantastic signing. So I'm not sure if I'm ready to put him in signing of the summer, but I'm going to put him in good signing. And then we also got to talk about Sofian Amrabat, because obviously he was a Man United last season, didn't get much game time, and it seems a bit weird that Man United going back in for him when they did have an option to buy him. They had a fee put into his contract from his initial loan from Fiorentina, but it seems like Man United and Erik ten Hag like Amrabat, but not enough to start him week in, week out. And clearly they think that they need some more defensive midfielders, but only if they can pay for them at their price, and that might be the new structure ahead of Ten Hag deciding who and how much they go for players for. So I think it's one where if Amrabat weren't to happen and weren't to go to Man United, I don't think Man United would think it's the end of the road. I think they're probably prioritizing someone like an Ugarte, and Amrabat is a backup option if that wasn't to happen. So I think obviously Ugarte, I think it's a good signing. I think for Amrabat, he's just solid. And we'll stick in the northwest of England, talking about Everton, who've made a fair few signings already, and now they've been linked with Jesper Lindstrom of Napoli. And this is one, I'll be honest, where I'm not entirely sure. It's only a loan move and with an option to buy, not an obligation. So if it were to happen, I think this one would be, there's not too much harm to it if it does go wrong. I do just think that yes, sometimes he wants to play on the number 10, sometimes he wants to play at wide, but in the number 10 position, you've already got Abdoulaye Doucouré, as well as Iliman Ndiaye, who Everton have signed from Marseille this summer. And I just think he's going to get ahead of either of them in the number 10 position, and I just think, no, not really. At wide, obviously, you've got Dwight McNeil, Jack Harrison. Is he going to put in the work rate that a Sean Dyche and Everton team need him to do? I'm not quite sure. I mean, how bad does he have to be to only, to have a bad season when he's only a lone player? Not too much, but I just don't see the fit, and actually this is going to be the first one which I'm going to put into flop. And now let's talk about Chelsea and Philip Jorgensen, the 22-year-old Danish goalkeeper for Villarreal, is reported to be moving to London for a reported £20 million fee. And this is one where I just think it's a bit weird, if I'm being completely honest. I think Chelsea already have Robert Sanchez, Jordan Petrovic, Kepa Arrizabalaga. I really feel like they need a goalkeeper who's going to go into that side and become the first choice and really take a grasp of the number one position and become a stalwart in between the sticks and become a real part, an integral part of the spine of Chelsea. But it just seems like Chelsea are just going ahead with this model of continuously buying young players, and obviously Jorgensen is another young player, only at 22 years of age, and it just, for me, it's fine, it's absolutely fine, but I think Chelsea could do a lot better, and I think they should be doing a lot better, but yeah, I think if they were to get him, it'd be fine. He's got a 72.2% save percentage last season for Villarreal. He underperformed his post-shot expected XG, so he did a little bit worse than the stats indicate that he should have done. He's letting in 3 goals more than he should have, but yeah, it's just fine. I'm just going to put him in solid business. And we're jumping all over the place. Next up, we're going to go back to Arsenal. And this time, we're going to talk about Fabian Ruiz, the PSG Spanish midfielder who played for them last season. And I think if Arsenal were to get this deal over the line, it could be really, really good. Apparently, it's only going to be a loan deal with maybe an option or an obligation to buy. It's the rumor. I've only just recently seen it and hasn't picked up too many legs. But I thought I wanted to talk about it because if Arsenal were to sign him, then that midfield three of Martin Odegaard on the right, Fabian Ruiz on the left, and Declan Rice holding just behind them in the sixth position. I think that would be a fantastic midfield three, and I think that would complete the midfield, if I'm being honest. And I think he is a player. Yes, he's 28 years of age, which is a bit of an issue, but he's a player who could probably go in there and complete the midfield. And, I really think about this outside and think they've got a couple of positions where you don't have a defined player in that position and there's a couple of players fighting it out. Fabian Ruiz would go in there and he would start week in, week out. And there's no doubt in my mind, would he be willing to move to London? I think that wouldn't be a problem whatsoever. And under this project with Mikel Arteta, it looks really promising. I'm not sure I can put it as signing of the summer, but if they were to get it on Arsenal, I think this is another one where it's going to be a great signing for them. And now it's time to talk about the rumour of Ricardo Calafiori, and this seems like it's going to be more than just rumour. This seems like it's going to be a deal that's going to get over the line. Arsenal have been heavily reported to be interested in signing the Italian centre-back who can also play left-back, and for me, I think this is one where it makes perfect sense. I think he's better defensively than Zinchenko and Kivior at left back and centre back. I think going forward he's better than Kivior. He's probably not as good as Zinchenko, but obviously Zinchenko originally was a midfielder who's been converted to a left back. So I think this is one where if you were to join Arsenal, it makes complete sense. Improve your defence, improve the areas where you can, and for £42 million plus a couple of add-ons, I think this would be a fantastic deal. So I've got to put him in good signing because I think it just makes absolute sense for me. Now let's talk about Crystal Palace and Ismaili Sarr, who's reportedly going to be moving from Marseille to the Palace. And I think to myself, this is a great signing because if you remember back to when he was playing at Watford, there were a lot of people linking him to top Premier League clubs. He got reported with likes of Arsenal and Liverpool, and it hasn't quite worked for him at Marseille. I mean, last season he got 5 goals and no assists in 35 appearances, but I think he's a player at 26 years of age who is known to English football, knows the Premier League, and could really kick on. And he's not probably the quality of player that you want to be replacing Michael Olise, and that's probably what he's going to be coming into the Palace side to do. However, he is a quality player and a proven asset in the Premier League, and maybe Palace need to sign him and one more if it were to get over the line. But I think I think it's more than a solid deal because I think he can really kick on to the next level under Oliver Glasner in the system, as we've seen with the likes of Eze and Olise. But I think, for me, it's going to be a good signing. Now let's go back to Fulham and talk about Emile Smith-Rowe, the transfer from Arsenal to Fulham, which again looks like another one that it is going to be more than rumour and it's actually going to happen. And the fee, £35 million, is a lot of money. It's going to be Fulham's record signing and it's going to be Arsenal's joint, I think, biggest fee they've sold a player for. And from Arsenal's perspective, I think it's great. A player who, yes, who came to the academy and they really like, but if he's not going to get in the team, you may as well sell him. And for Fulham, I think 35 million record fee, it's a lot of money. But if you think back to 3 years ago when he broke into that side alongside the likes of Bukayo Saka, everyone was saying he looks like he could be an absolute world beater. And he's had a few injury issues. He hasn't been selected when he has been fit in recent months because that Arsenal side were fantastic, second best in the Premier League last season, the last 2 seasons. And he's been struggling to get his way back into the team. And, it's tough when there's a team fighting at the very highest level. But I think for Fulham, it would be a great signing. I mean, Yeah, the last season he had no goals, 1 assist in 13 appearances. The season before, 12 matches played, 0 goals, 2 assists. But if you go back to the season before, 3 seasons ago, 33 matches played, 10 goals, 2 assists. If he can recreate that for Fulham, I think he would be an outstanding signing. And then you can think to yourself, in 3 to 4 years' time, you could probably sell him off for 70, 80, maybe even more. So I think for Fulham, this is a great signing. I just wonder maybe where he's going to fit in. Is he going to play instead of Andres Pereira, maybe alongside him on the left-hand side? I'm just not quite sure, because there's two number 10s there who Fulham could, they could do with playing them both, really. Is Pereira going to play a little bit deeper? We'll have to wait and see. But in my mind, when you sign a player for a record fee, you're going to play him somewhere, aren't you? So for me, Fulham, great signing. Now let's talk about Leicester City and then potentially signing Reece Nelson. And when I think about this, and I think to myself, okay, do Leicester really need Reece Nelson? And I think about last season in the Championship, they had 5 options. They had Mavidi, they had Fatua, they had McAteer, Akgon, and now Brighton. And I think to myself that Brighton's obviously left on the free transfer. Akgon has gone back to Galatasaray on the expiry of his loan contract. And then you've only got 3 wide players. And when you think about McAteer being the third most used last season, and the fact that he's still only 21, first time in the Premier League, you do think to yourself that maybe Leicester could do with a little bit more experience in the wide areas, especially with Brighton leaving. And I think Reece Nelson, a player who has done fantastically well for Arsenal anytime he has played. Obviously, he's got the impossible job of trying to replace Bukayo Saka, and he's not going to do that if we're being realistic. He's obviously worked with Steve Cooper before at England level at under 18 and under 21, so he knows the manager. And Leicester is an exciting project. They've got great facilities, they've got a great stadium, great fans. I think to myself, yeah, why not? And if this turns out to be a loan with an option to buy, I think that'd be perfect for Leicester. A loan with an obligation, it's a bit more risky. But I think for me, I think it's just got to be a solid signing. Now let's go back to West Ham. And this one, if it were to happen, which I don't think it will, but if it were, I think this is a contender for signing of the summer, and that is N'Golo Kante, the 33-year-old French midfielder who currently plays in Saudi Arabia for Al Ittihad. Apparently, West Ham put in the bid for 15 million, which got immediately rejected. Apparently, Al Ittihad won't even consider anything unless it's 25 million plus. And if he was just a couple years younger, I'd be like, yeah, go for it. Absolutely, no brainer. And even now, I mean, despite the fact that he's 33 years of age, I still think for a season or two he would be great at West Ham under Lopetegui. Considering the fact they have no European football for the first time, I think in like something crazy like 4 years. They've only got Premier League football. Kante, if he were to join, would have like the whole week to recover from week to week in between games. And I think he would be a great signing for them. Not very much a long-term signing, not a smart one in terms of sell-on value, but I think for a player here and now, if West Ham were able to get N'Golo Kante, yeah, for me, it's got to be a summer contender easily. And there we have it. There is a tier list completed. Let me know what you guys think I got right. Let me know what you think I got wrong. I know you definitely let me know what I got wrong. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.